my name is Scott Waters, and welcome to No Life Metal, and this is
Trog!
Trog. Trog is the owner of Stone Groove Records.
That's right.
And you all know Trog because you've seen him on the other top whatever of whatever year.
Yep.
And this time we're doing the top 50
Yep.
of 1984.
That's right. And it was a huge list.
Huge list.
And we couldn't even agree on a top 10.
Exactly.
We agreed on the top 5, and then each of us have a different 6 through 10. So we actually have a top 15.
Exactly.
Just a huge list this time.
Well over 100 albums we had. Well over 100.
And we had to cut that in half. And even then, that was tough.
Yeah. So I think people are going to be surprised. There's going to be a few that didn't make the list. People are going to be like, how come you didn't include that? Well, it just didn't make our list. You know, it wasn't one of our favorites.
And YouTube's basically free. You know, you can feel free to do your own show.
Yeah. And there's going to be a few that are not in the top 10 that people are going to be surprised about, too.
Again, own show.
And again, we're not here to argue about what's metal and what's not metal. That's why we're calling it the hard and heavy list. So,
Yep. So, shirts.
Ultimatum, this is my band, and I'm wearing this because I'm hot and it's cool. It's cut off and it's...
And Ultimatum is a recent addition to Stone Groove Records, doing some special projects for them. We've got Live Extremities digital download available. That's going to be remastered and put on CD eventually, like an official Ultimatum release finally.
Yep, because it's a bootleg. It was... But it's an old bootleg. It's an old bootleg from like '96.
But we're going to paint that trash can platinum. We're going to make it as good sounding as it can. And also doing a couple special singles with hopefully some bonus material digitally, special artwork, blah, blah, blah. And I'm wearing Hypnagogue Reprimand to the Watcher's shirt, which Hypnagogue's debut album, Syndric Times, I'm putting that on CD really soon. Excellent improvised stoner doom, half instrumental, half vocals. Great stuff.
Very good.
Great
Yep.
stuff.
You can check that out on YouTube too. There's clips on YouTube to check out for free. So we're gonna start with the one honorable mention, and the reason it's an honorable mention is because there's just no way we could not put it in our. I don't know. We argued it should be number one. But,
well, it's number one, like of all time of all music genres.
Right, so that's why it didn't fit. Because if we said it was the top of 1984, then it's just it's wrong.
It's what it is. It's the top of eternity, past and future and present, and it's like an infinite number one
of all eternity, right?
Yeah.
All eternity.
Oh yeah, past, present, and future eternity.
Eternity, exactly. And no other band would exist without this band.
Even a band that has the color black in their albums owes something to this band. Spinal Tap.
Right.
Smell the Glove, the censored cover.
Yep.
It's very difficult to come by the uncensored cover.
Yep. None more black.
None more black, and you can see yourself in both sides.
Oh, I can.
Yep.
Wow. Can you see yourself here? Can you see yourself?
I can see myself.
I wonder if people can see themselves.
Anyway. Spinal Tap.
But seriously, this
Smell the
album
Glove.
did come out in 1984, and
It did.
We did think it belonged in this list. It's not in the top 50. I really actually like the music on this record.
I mean, all kidding aside, it is kind of in a class by itself.
And I love the movie. This is Spinal Tap, and I like the soundtrack.
Yeah, and I was really going to break into some of my best Cockney, British, whatever, but I'm not feeling it. I'm in the presence of the Black Album.
Cups and cakes.
In the presence of the Black Album, I lose my mind.
Give me
Spinal
some
Tap.
money.
Yep.
Give me some.
All right.
Oh, okay, so
we're gonna go.
We're gonna start with the end right here. We're gonna start with number 50.
We're gonna count backwards, but technically we're just following the alphabet.
Being the
backwards.
only one that we don't have. You have to imagine it.
Which one?
This is Kiss Animalized.
Oh,
Because-
imagine animal pelts, different colors.
Because I forgot to bring it. That's all. That's why I
Imagine
don't
a
have it.
guitar player that has a problem with his hand and he stops being able to play afterwards. Right?
Yep. So Kiss
Imaginary
Animalized
car,
is
kick-ass drummer.
what, second album without the makeup on, and unlike Lick It Up, has no inclusion from Vinnie Vincent on it. Mark St. John is playing guitar.
Yep.
Very similar sound to Lick It Up, but they're getting a little more hair metal-ish.
The album that brought you such hits as Feel My Heat, Taking You High, Burn With Me,
Exactly.
Heaven's on Fire, and other standards such as Burn Bitch Burn.
Exactly.
Woo woo woo!
I like the album. I like it. I mean, it's not one of their best albums, but I like it.
Those are the only two cuts I remember.
I saw them twice on that tour.
Did you?
Saw them at the Spectrum, and I saw them again in the Meadowlands in New Jersey.
I played air guitar to Heaven's on Fire a year after that came out in some air guitar contest.
I saw them open, and Queensryche was opening when I saw them. They were on the Warning Tour.
That's an odd
Yep.
going.
And they came out, and Queensryche came out. Never mind. Now I'm talking about
And
Queensryche instead of
then
Kiss.
Petra stole the riff from Heaven's on Fire on the Beyond Belief album. You remember that?
I remember the controversy over it, but
I mean, it's so similar.
yeah.
We never heard Kiss.
There's only so many riffs you can play anyhow.
But Heaven's on Fire. Why didn't you steal Deuce?
Or Strutter, or yeah. All right. Anyhow, so getting on with it. We have a handful that are not on vinyl.
Yeah, these are kind of the just odds and ends that kind of like.
I really felt this one needed to be in there. And I know several people who thought it should be number one that I've asked. That's so many that people like this album.
I'm going to point you in the direction of the own show door.
But I love this record. It's a great album. I just don't have it on vinyl. I have it on CD.
And a killer metal name for a band. Just a cool metal name.
Jag Panzer.
Yes. I saw them a few years ago.
Ample Destruction. This is a great album. This is a CD repressing, I believe from the very early 90s, and this thing is really hard to find, this particular version with this particular cover. But regardless, I wrote down the back of this thing exactly what I wanted to call this. It's a kick-ass chunk of polished steel. Metal for metal's sake.
A kick-ass chunk of polished steel.
Exactly.
The other cover had like Metal Priestess with an eye patch and a chainsaw or something.
I don't remember. I've never had the other one. I've always had this one. So.
Oh, really? I've never seen this cover. I've only seen the other one.
Yeah, this cover's cool. I like it. But they're both cool. They're both corny. So
awesome.
But one of the things that I was...
Kick-ass chunk of polished metal.
And we've got just galloping metal. We've got Harry Conklin, the Tyrant on vocals. Very charismatic vocalist.
Is he still with them?
And he's still their
All right,
singer.
I just saw him.
He was off again and on again with them, but
Okay.
he's the guy they know with that band. You know?
I think I saw him. It's 2007, maybe. I saw him. They came to town.
And then I was playing this album last week in preparation for the show, and I was listening to the guitar work, and man, this guitar work on here. I think it's Joey Tafoya. Is that what his name was?
I remember that name.
Yeah, I think it's Tafoya.
He went on to do some other things.
Yeah, he did. For Shrapnel and stuff like that.
Yes.
Yeah,
He was one of those guys.
He got this totally rainbow, deep purplish, Richie Blackmore guitar solo style.
He must be a
I'm like,
Strat
this
player.
guy definitely studied at the Blackmore School of Guitar Playing.
He had at least one solo album that he did.
Yeah.
The Shred Master kind of thing.
So anyhow, I love this record. I know a lot of people who think this album is like one of the best albums ever released, and I don't agree with that, but I do think it's a very good album.
And it certainly doesn't outdo Spinal Tap.
Wow. Like
Lame.
Nothing out of Spinal Tap. One more on CD before we get into the vinyl, because neither one of us had this one on vinyl. And there's a lot of EPs this year. There's a lot of EPs included.
Yeah,
in
there were a lot.
And I couldn't cut these EPs out because at one point we were like, they're EPs, but man, they're important.
And I
EPs.
usually define an EP like 6 or under.
Or under, right?
Like 6 is pushing it.
But some of these EPs are really important for the.
Oh hell yeah!
So, and this is one of them. This is Sodom. And this is actually a double version. This is In the Sign of Evil and Obsessed by Cruelty. But
Trash Band?
84, this is German, Teutonic, raw, very raw thrash metal. Like if you heard the first Voivod album that has that just really trashy, raw, guttural sound, that's what you get here. And this is really early for that. I mean,
that's true.
It was only a year earlier. It was only a year earlier we had Kill 'Em All. You know what I mean? So there wasn't a whole lot to sound like this.
I think 84 the floodgates just friggin' opened in a big way.
There wasn't a whole lot
Metallica
to
hit
sound
in
like this.
such a big bad way that everyone was jumping on that one.
Yeah, this is a steam hammer pressing, but yeah, raw, guttural, thrash metal. One of the big three of the Teutonic thrash metal bands, along with just with Destruction and Creator and Sodom, and yeah, I mean the recording is really rough.
I was a Destruction fan.
Kind of sounds like the first Megadeth album has that really rough recording.
Are we missing Destruction from this list?
What's
Did
that?
they have something come out in 84?
Who?
Destruction.
I don't think so.
Infernal Overkill?
If we did, we cut it off the list. So.
One of the few thrash bands that I was still into that whole thing. Scott's the thrash master, not me.
Yeah, anyhow, I think it might have been the year after.
But there was an EP prior to it.
Right.
Death Sentence.
I'm still thinking it was early.
Death.
I'm still thinking it was 84, early 84.
That's what the year we're on.
I mean 85, excuse me, because I was in college that year. Yeah, it was 85.
It was? Okay. Oh well.
If I'm wrong,
I tried to contribute.
If I'm wrong, you guys let me know.
I tried to contribute to the thrash discussion.
Sodom, In the Sign of Evil. If it would have been Obsessed by Cruelty, I have this one on vinyl. I just don't have this EP on vinyl. One of these days, it's just you can't have everything.
Stop messaging me on Facebook. I'm doing a podcast.
Jeez.
With Scott.
Okay, what's next? You're up.
Is it my turn? Oh, speak of the devil. And in he walks with a martini. Voivod! War and Pain. Wow. Voivod. All right, I'm not going to say that Voivod changed the game, Voivod were playing a different game right from the start.
Yep.
I mean, they're noisy and they were thrashy, but they weren't like anybody else. They weren't. They just had their own unique kind of sound. They had their own, definitely unique presentation, and only got better and better with subsequent albums. Now, I remember this coming out, and I remember a drummer named Chris Contos, who has played with Machine Head, I believe. I went to high school with him, and he also played with a couple other crunchcore bands, Attitude Adjustment, and I can't remember the other band. Whatever. Attitude Adjustment was the band he was in right out of high school. Great band, by the way, but I digress. He mentioned it one day. We were standing in Metal Record Exchange in Walnut Creek, California. I was living in the Bay Area, and he was talking about this, and I respected him. He was like a big metal man around school, and he's just like, "Oh my God, Voivod is just like the best thing I've ever heard." And so I had to check it out because Chris Contos thought it was cool, and man, it is. It totally is. And I mean, with songs like "Suck Your Bone," how can you go wrong? We got Blower, we got Voivod, the title track. I mean.
Then you got the name of the band members themselves.
Yeah, we got Snake on Throat, Piggy on Burning Metal Axe, Blackie on Blower Bass,
Blowy Blower.
Blowy Blackie, and then Away on Thunder Machine, aka drums.
Yeah.
Away, Michael Langevin, I think is his real name. He's the guy who's responsible for all the artwork. He's responsible for the creation of the Voivod.
I actually like the hand-drawn ones better than some of the computerized ones. But.
Totally. And I mean, the Voivod is like this. It's like a vampire that lives in these Arctic wastelands, and these guys are from, Canada, and all they had was their art and their music and their acid, probably. And this is what they came up with. But wow, they turned it into such a massive head trip, and what a great band! And they only got better with every subsequent album. They're still kicking. They're still putting out great music. They went very progressive in their later career, which I really dug them at that point.
Yeah, I like the whole catalog.
Yeah, me too. There's nothing I don't like. The mid-period stuff with the other singer, I can take it or leave it.
I'll tell you one thing other about Voivod. They're one of the few bands, like Motorhead, that pulled in not only the metal crowd, but the punk crowd.
Yeah, punk crowd too. Yep. They definitely had that hardcore edge at the beginning for sure.
Yep.
And then later they brought in like the prog and the space rock people because they were doing Pink Floyd covers and they just did a Hawkwind cover on the new one, which is great. Post Society, and we also have our first RIP, which is going to be Piggy. He died in 2005.
There's a lot of RIPs in this one, unfortunately.
And I just missed seeing him with Piggy right the year before he died, and I'm still kicking myself for that one.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Voivod. All right, next up, we're going from extremely heavy to much, not like say lighter. It still rocks hard. It's just not
heavy blues.
And see, I would barely even call this metal. This is White Snake slided in.
At the time,
this is the U.S. pressing and the U.S. mix.
Oh, okay.
See,
I didn't realize there was a different one.
There is a UK mix, which is much rawer, much heavier, and I've heard better.
Is it missing the logo and the title? Is that the difference?
I don't know about the cover. I just know the music is a completely different mix. And if I'm not mistaken, it may have even made slightly different recording at times.
The videos came out. I saw Slow and Easy because MTV was God at the time. And John Sykes is in the video playing Slow and Easy, but the original guitar players...
well, Sykes plays on this.
Mel Galley. Oh, Mel Galley is the holdover from the original Whitesnake.
And then you got John Sykes' second guitar,
Who was the second guitar player. Bernie Marsden was the second guitar player. I didn't realize John played on this one.
Yep.
Oh, cool. I like it. I've always liked this Whitesnake. It was, I think it was the last...
I think it's the last album I loved by them. After that, they started getting a little...
The last one that had still had so much blues in it until the hair metal...
It still sounded like the British heavy metal hard rock that they were in the 70s and the 80s. They weren't so pop metalish yet.
And I guess I can forgive Whitesnake for their hair sins a little bit more because David Coverdale and company worked their asses off for a long time before they hit that big.
Yeah, in 1987, yep.
Yeah. And as far as for, them being lumped in with all the hair bands, they could play circles around most of those guys.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, even when John Sykes was gone, they got Adrian Vandenberg and Vivian Campbell in there. Was it Vivian?
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
And then
those two guys were shredders.
John Sykes, Vivian Campbell, they also had
Steve Vai.
Steve Vai, yeah. But they would also
and
have
Tommy Aldridge on
band?
drums, killer band.
Who's playing drums on this?
This is Ian Pace, is it? Oh, is Cozy Powell's on this one?
Yep.
I got to do my Whitesnake homework. I thought Ian Pace was still in the band.
Yeah, it's Causey on this one, and of course he was with Rainbow for many years, and
John Lord is still in the band on this one. So we still got the 2 Deep Purple holdouts.
And Causey is another one in our.
Causey, he's
rest in peace.
What a great friggin' drummer he was. He definitely had a style all his own as well. Crisp, really crisp, tight style.
I was watching a Richie Blackmore special, and Richie was basically saying when they were trying out drummers for Rainbow, he was like the only drummer that they tried out who could play a shuffle. That was the reason they took him to begin with.
Of course, he's great. Love him. And the friggin', what is it, the Rising album. He's all over it. So good.
Speaking of Whitesnake, though, I mean, you can't even say the name Whitesnake without saying David Coverdale.
Oh, yeah.
And the guy's voice is incredible.
He is.
And he was in...
He's the only hard rock singer I know that as he gets older, his voice gets higher instead of lower. I don't know what that's all about.
Yeah, he's a great singer. He was with Deep Purple as well, and he was an unknown when he went with Deep Purple.
Pretty much. I don't know who did David Coverdale play with. I mean, it's obvious to see that he was a huge Robert Plant fan. You look in the early days of him with Purple. I mean, he looks like him, and he's going for that kind of heavy blues drenched. Acid rock like Zeppelin was playing, basically. So,
okay, next up, I gotta admit, when this one first came out, I was a huge fan of this band before this came out.
Yes.
When this came out, I was honestly a little turned off at first.
They weren't our band anymore. All of a sudden, they were everybody's band, and I know it's an elitist prick thing to say, but
it doesn't matter.
It's hard.
Yeah,
it's just hard.
Twisted Sister, Stay Hungry.
Twisted fucking Sister.
And you know what? And I love this record. Even the goofy. So you know what? The hits, I'm tired of them. I don't really want to hear them or throw them that much. But when we went to see them play live a few years ago,
live Twisted Sister's a totally different animal.
But when they were playing, we're not gonna, I want to rock, and we're not gonna take it. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was.
The whole crowd's bouncing, and we're just.
Yeah. And we got the I Wanna Rock 12-inch with a couple live tracks. And I'll tell you what. Here's the story. Chris Allenak, my buddy, my metal brother growing up. We went to see Twisted Sister when we were in our 30s. And I hadn't seen them for a good 10, 15 years at that point. We went to the Milwaukee River Fest, and, I was like 35 by then, and, it's like the aging metalhead. And we went down front, and we're down front with all these other 30-something dads with kids now, and we haven't been to a Twisted Sister show in forever. And we're down there, and they're playing I Wanna Rock. And I turned to Chris and I finally go, oh, I get it now. I totally get it. And it's like, I was fist in the air and I was saying that I wanted to rock too. And it was awesome.
But there's a lot of good songs in here. It's not just, those 2 hit songs. I mean, Stay Hungry is Burn in Hell.
Favorite. Stay Hungry is probably my favorite cut on this.
Stay Hungry, Burn in Hell. Both those songs have that old school Twisted Sister sound.
We're not going to take it's one of those way overplayed anthems, but I'm not sick of it. I still kind of like it, and it's those friggin' drums, and that leads us to our third R.I.P. Yeah, with the cowbell. Who doesn't like cowbell?
But in that cowbell, I was just reading about it because I was listening to stuff, studying for this video.
He's so good. He studies for this stuff.
And the cowbell was actually attached to his bass drum, and it was driving producer Tom Worman nuts. He goes because it gave him that weird sound, but he goes. But then that sound became iconic.
Right.
On that.
Right.
Yeah, because it was resonating when he was playing the bass drum. It was resonating.
And last time I saw him was last year in Vegas, and it was on the first show of the tribute tour for AJ after he passed away, and Mark Portnoy from Mike Portnoy from Dream Theater was handpicked by AJ. I guess they all had replacements picked beforehand if they ever had gotten sick or something like that. Well, little did he know he was going to take his place after he died. AJ picked Mike Portnoy. And I'll tell you what, Mike Portnoy is a drummer's drummer for sure, and he's friggin' technical, and Dream Theater's like progressive to the nth degree. And he did a good job handling AJ's parts, but he wasn't AJ.
He wasn't overplaying him.
He wasn't. He was not overplaying him, definitely, but he wasn't AJ either. You just knew.
Right.
You knew something was missing, even though he was totally respectful and all that.
So that's the original pressing there, which is just
original pressing.
This is the repressing from a few years ago, which if any band deserves a colored vinyl, I mean, Pepto-Bismol Pink for Twisted
Yeah.
Sisters, perfect.
Yeah, there's a few other bands I think that could get away with Pink.
And this is
Similar
also
to Johnny
released,
Thunders.
This is also released on CD with a bonus disc of tons of material
Yep.
that they had recorded during these sessions that was never released.
And if you remember, one of those discs was jacked up, and you had to get the replacement.
And I
disc.
still have that.
What
Disc
a
one was,
pain
yeah.
in the ass that was.
I still have it, and the letter
I do too.
came with it.
And I still have the jacked up one too.
Now, if you look on eBay, some people selling those letters. People are paying just for the letters.
Lamb.
All right, what are we at? Oh,
It's like Ultimatum needs a lime green album, which you have, I think. Ultimatum did
yes,
do
we
a
do.
lime green.
Heart of Metal, yep.
One of the few that I said that I will buy on colored vinyl.
All right, next up, this is
yeah.
Metal Blade release. This is Warlord, and this is very, very epic metal. That's how I describe Warlord. I mean, Cannon. That's the name of the album. And the Cannons of Destruction have begun. And these drums on this thing definitely have that cannon-like effect, kind of like on Kiss Creatures of Might.
Yep.
You know, just the overpowering drums. And the guitars have this very odd sound. The guitarist's name, Williams T-S-A-M-I-S. Can you pronounce it?
Where is it?
T-S-A-M-I-S.
Samis.
Samis?
Samis, like Tsunami,
Yes.
Sami.
Who also went on to form Lordian Guard. And this band has been around for a while. They break up, they get back together, they have new stuff out. But this is just great. I put them in the same school as Celtic.
However.
Not Celtic Frost. What the hell?
Whatever happened to Celtic Frost?
Totally screwed myself up with that. It was. They don't sound anything like Celtic Frost. That's just wrong.
Who are you
Cirith Ungol.
Oh,
Thank you.
Cirith Ungol.
Where they have just that, that very epic sound. You know what I'm saying? It's. They don't sound the same, but they have that epic sound like them.
I want to point out something right now. I had a chance to go down a wicked rabbit trail right there, and I didn't. I chose not to.
Anyhow, Mark Zonder on drums, who is here called, let's see what, Thunderchild.
Thunder Child?
Thunder
Child.
He went on to, join Fate's Warning in later years as well.
What's his real name?
Mark Zonder.
Thunder Child.
Yeah, here we got Destroyer on guitar.
Oh, they went with the pseudonyms.
Damian King 2 on vocals, and Archangel on bass. Huh. Anyhow, I love this album. It's a classic. Honestly, this one, if I was just doing my top 50, would be much higher in the list because I just like it that much. So.
I'm not familiar with them.
And you probably love them.
I thought they were a thrash band at first, but
nope.
I remember the name, but I've never heard them. All right, I think this next band, a couple of you might be familiar with. For me, this was the beginning of a second era in this band's life, basically.
Yep.
Kind of a change in appearance in some respects, but a change in sound. Then we got Saxon with Crusader. Definitely, they kind of up the ante with the artwork. It's a little more, big painting, a little more epic looking, and the sound was a bit more.
A little more epic, a little more progressive, a little more melodic.
Yep, definitely. It was the next step after, Denim and Leather.
Yeah, I love it.
I'm sorry, Power and the Glory.
The title track is brilliant.
Yes, it is. It's friggin' awesome. And, the Crusader prelude, and
of course,
just shouting, Crusader!
They were obviously trying to make a hit in America.
Yep.
So you've got Sailing to America,
Yep.
which was the single from the album, which I don't even mind that song. A lot of people called it this. I remember being called this was a sellout album back in the time. Everybody said, oh, it's a sellout.
But
it's just,
if they sold out, they hadn't quite begun to sold out.
No, there wasn't. There's no Party Till You Puke on here like on the later album, and there's definitely no.
No Christopher Cross covers.
Yeah, and there's also no Pour Some Sugar on Me either. So.
Why did you have to bring that up? Why did you have to bring that up? There's another kind of like a ballad on here, which that was another trademark at the time. Just Do It All For You. That was a good cut. I like that. And we still got the original guys in here, I believe. I don't think we've lost anybody yet.
And of course, you can't have a Saxon album at all without having at least 2 or 3 or maybe 4 songs with the word rock in it.
Yep. So we've got Just Let Me Rock, Bad Boys Like to Rock and Roll, and Rock City.
There you go. That's like a trademark thing for them.
This town knows how to rock.
There's actually another band coming up in the list that's the same way with that word in their song light titles.
Okay, I'm not I can't. Oh yeah.
Okay.
But except it's not the word rock, right?
It is.
Oh, it is. Okay,
Yeah.
never mind.
Okay, next up, this is one of those EPs I was talking about. Local band from me growing up. This is TT Quick.
AKA Thrown Together Quick.
Yeah, this is
one of the best logos in metal ever, though.
Oh,
Kick-ass logo.
Actually, I have a T-shirt of this, and I love this. And this EP was so ahead of its time. I mean, it was so heavy, and just nobody sounded like this really.
And we got Glenn Evans, later went on to drum for Nuclear Assault.
And you've got Dave DiPietro on guitar, who also went on to play guitar in Nuclear Assault.
Oh, he did?
One album. Yes, he did.
I didn't know that.
And of course, we got Mark Torino, who went on to sing for Accept.
Is he with them now?
He's with them now.
Oh, I didn't realize that either.
They've released 3 albums.
And then we've got Walt Fortune on bass.
On course.
Where the hell is he?
And these guys, well, he still does reunion stuff with them.
Was he on all their albums?
All of them.
Okay.
And they released 4 full-length albums. This EP, and this 5-song EP is heavy.
Yeah.
You got 2 songs on here. Go for the Throat, Metal Man. Excellent, heavy.
And this was a
almost pushing the U.S. power metal kind of style, almost like Metal Church, that kind of heaviness. Then you've got the Fortunate Son. Which
this is on Megaforce. That's right.
And then you got Fortunate Son, which is a
Credence.
Yep. John Fogerty song, and Victims, which is another heavy metal, straightforward rocker.
And this has never come out on CD, I don't think either.
Not officially.
No.
Nope. And some of these songs have been released on different compilations.
Yeah.
But never.
Yeah, Victims definitely came.
Never
out.
been officially released on. There's bootlegs of it. That's about it.
Yeah.
And I love this.
This is always fun.
I don't know why it hasn't been released. Like they should have released Medal of Honor with this as bonus tracks.
It's just an EP. Those aren't important.
The songs are great.
Right.
Anyhow, yeah, these guys are huge in the East Coast. So, like I said, great logo.
Yeah,
great band.
Totally.
Definitely worthy of being in the top 50.
Yep. That was one of the first. When I first started collecting vinyl again back in like 04, 05, that was one of the first ones I picked up because it didn't have it on CD. All right, next up, a live album. Speaking of Germans, Teutonic Terrors, the original Teutonic Terror, Michael Schenker.
Yes, sir.
We've got his.
That's actually a good description of him.
No doubt. We've got Gary Barden has rejoined him on this one after Graham Bonnet had taken over for one album. And this is a killer live album. I mean, Michael's got, at this point, 3 albums out, and this is his second live album already. Mm-hmm. Michael was a live player, for sure. They've got probably the penultimate version of Are You Ready to Rock on here that has that intro, that da-na-na-na-na, which my band Stage Fright took when we were playing covers outside after high school, and we played that song to death. But a friend of mine, Richie Sokol, I went to high school with, he nailed this drum part, just nailed it. And we've got on drums, we've got Ted McKenna, which was basically, he's got the original MSG band on here, except for Andy Nye is on keyboards and not Paul Raymond. Other classics that are on here, Captain Nemo, new instrumental from the, oh wait a minute, was this after
Yes.
Built to Destroy? Okay, so he's got 4 albums out at this point, I'm sorry. So Gary Barden came back for Built to Destroy, then they put out this live one.
Yeah, that's it. Mm-hmm.
And that was it for a while.
Yeah, this is I love
It's a great
Schenker
album.
live. Yeah, you know, he could never capture the same raw energy
No.
in the studio that he captured on these live records.
Yeah, and he's got Rockman, a lot of newer stuff on here, but Attack of the Mad Axemen is on here, and Into the Arena. The other stuff is all from the other albums, but he does go back and do Dr. Doctor by UFO.
But I do think that Gary Barden was better in the studio than live.
Yes, I would agree with that.
But
he has an odd voice.
Yes,
but a good voice.
But I just love the rawness, and the crowd energy on there is awesome too. There's something about live albums, especially like 70s, early 80s ones, where that crowd energy just adds something to the music.
Totally.
I don't know. Some people hate live albums. They say, oh, they're fake. Maybe they are. I don't know.
Well, sometimes they're
it still has that sound. It's like saying, well, that album sucks because the recording's bad. Well, okay. There's a lot of metal albums with bad recordings, but they're classics.
And then, I mean, if you get into punk, you know, production value that's down the toilet anyway, and it's completely about that visceral, raw, emotive feeling. And to me, the people that are so into production for production's sake, I always go back to it. I always go back to the punk, and it's just like, you know, you can achieve certain things outside of pristine production, and pristine production can kill a lot of what you love about metal.
It can rob the rock and roll out of the rock and roll, man.
Yeah, it's a very tricky thing.
Think about like Iron Maiden's first couple albums, or the first few Raven records.
Yep.
Try and put a clean production on those, and it just
they did. They tried it later with Stay Hard and Back Is Back, and what happened to Raven? It killed their friggin' sound.
Yeah, it killed the momentum, definitely.
You can't. I mean, sometimes better is not always better.
And speaking of new wave of British heavy metal,
yeah.
This band actually released, well, some of those new wave of British heavy metal bands, their catalogs are confusing as crap.
They are.
Because they got
A lot of
singles
them-
and they're released different
Yeah.
times at different years. And in our 1983 video, we didn't show this because to us we were thinking it was an 84 release.
Yeah. Because it came out a
Because
couple of
in
different
the US
times.
it came out in it's anyhow Tokyo Blade.
Yeah. So
And they released 2 albums. This is 2 totally different albums.
Night of the Blade.
Night of the Blade, and this is Midnight Rendezvous, which is a US release of the original Tokyo Blade. This came out in '83. This came out in '84.
Great, definitely not new wave of British heavy metal sound going on, but more towards the commercial end of things, like Tigers of Pantang. Not as raw as say, like Diamond Head or.
I'd say it's kind of like it has a melodic galloping sound, like early Iron Maiden, but it's more on the, like you said, more on the early Def Leppard end of things.
Yeah.
Or you know who they always reminded me of is Riot, early Riot. That's kind of what it gives me. But anyhow, this album here is called Midnight Rendezvous. It's a full-length album, but it's actually a combination of this album and the UK Midnight Rendezvous EP mixed together.
And that's just the self-titled?
And made, the self-titled.
Okay.
Made into this one, and then right after this was released, same year, this one was released.
So they were busy, and then what?
Then they released a lot of stuff after this. It just wasn't quite as good. And I have some
the
stuff
new
after
wave
it,
of British heavy metal. This is '84 now. We're starting to push it.
We're starting to push what new wave of British heavy metal is now.
We're kind of at the end of it. I mean, '85, I think probably. I mean, granted, there were bands that still went on and did things that were from that movement.
But that movement, was
the sound itself and the original rawness of it had kind of dissipated by the end.
And that sound started around '79.
Yes.
And
so
then
a good
into
5 or
the
6 year run.
And I always say this: there's a reason they call it the new wave of British heavy metal. New wave because there was a second wave, which this was, and the first wave was
bands like Sabbath,
and Purple, and UFO,
and I also a lot of people
Budgie.
They continue to try and lump Judas Priest and Motorhead in with the new wave of British heavy metal.
But they were around before that.
They were to me. Yeah, I mean Judas Priest's first album was '74.
Yeah, they were first wave.
They were contemporaries of all those other guys, although they started a little bit later. They still weren't quite in this new wave territory. And Motorhead, if anything, they're the missing link between the old wave and the new wave. I don't put them with the new wave. There's something about almost every one of the bands that came out of that whole movement. There's this common thread. Not that they sound alike. No. There's just the spirit of it is the same.
Because you have a band like Venom that sounds nothing like this.
No.
Or Raven, they don't sound anything like this.
But they still belong in that classification of new wave of British heavy metal. And there is a similarity, but it's not style. It's, I don't know what else to call it other than just spirit of the whole thing.
Maybe.
It's kind of like the punk movement. And in a lot of ways, it was similar to the punk movement because it was very do-it-yourself, especially at first.
Oh, yeah.
And bands putting out 7 inches. Some bands, that's all they did. They
look
put
at
out
Diamond Head's first album was white with autographs on it.
Yeah, and before that they had 2 7-inch releases, and a lot of bands never got past that. But it's just there was a great time in metal. This definitely brought metal back to life in the way that America had experienced it in the '80s. This is where it started.
There's also a look. That look right there was pretty common.
Yep. Very Maiden, Leopard looking.
Maiden and Leopard looked almost identical. Yeah. I mean, and these guys did as well. There was a few bands that stepped away from that.
And Saxon was the same way.
Even early Raven looked like that. I mean, they didn't do the whole hockey uniform thing yet. And
those spandex were still
Venom. They were a little more on the more extreme side early on.
Well, Kronos did wear spandex. He just wore those 23-hole Doc Martens that covered his knees too. I mean, Kronos is a totally animal on his own.
So anyhow, Tokyo Blade made the top 50 list for us.
My turn?
Your turn.